to inspire the next generation in terms of what's possible, especially for someone like me and for young girls that look like me. Irish-wise, Katie Taylor obviously was one of the big ones. Just watching those Olympic Games where she won the gold was just, eye-opening.
Hello and welcome to Stronger Than You Think with me, Ashleigh Wilmot.
And me, Jodie Ounsley. I'm really excited to have our guest with us today as she's a legend from my field.
She has captained Ireland, played for them 48 times. She also played for Barbarians, and back in 2016, she was the Rugby Writers Player of the Year. It's Sene Naoupu.
Oh,
Good to have you.
Thanks for the wonderful intro. It's incredible to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you on the podcast, honestly. We've been wanting to get you on for so long, so thank you for making the effort, because you've travelled over as well today, haven't you?
Oh, of course. I'm genuinely fans of both of you.
And we're fans of you as well.
No. Honestly, so it's really cool to be here. Thanks so much, guys, for having me.
Amazing. Oh, feeling the love already.
I know,
I can't wait to dig into our chat today. Obviously, there's loads to talk about, Sene, but let's just go back to the start, really. You grew up in New Zealand. What was life like over there? A lot sunnier, I imagine.
Well, you're saying it's sunnier there. It's actually beautiful at the moment today here in London. But I was the youngest of four and super sporty. Grew up in the rural small town of Wilmot in the South Island in New Zealand. And I suppose I just sort of naturally gravitated to playing in the backyard as a young girl from like the age of, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just lifestyle-wise, that's what everyone did back then. A lot of kids were outside running around, loved all of the sports, like backyard cricket, volleyball, touch. Basketball, adored basketball, my first love. And then I suppose it was actually basketball that I was started to super enjoy and got really stuck in from a young age.
Basketball.
I know. I've never played basketball.
No, I remember playing in school and I was shocking. So I have a lot of respect for that.
I bet you guys are great. But
what made you turn to rugby instead of basketball? Because like you say, we know it was your first passion, but you left that behind.
Super question. And I love that question because of some of the work I do now is kind of full circle as to the reasons why I did change sports. And a lot of it was just that pathway in terms of that next step wasn't as accessible or seen for me. So I was super grateful after high school in New Zealand, going to the Sports Institute for basketball. So I was there specifically for basketball and loved it, sort of trained every day. Had aspirations of play for New Zealand again, had already experienced your sort of under 14s, under 16s, under 18s age grade for New Zealand koru teams and sort of had that experience in high performance environments as a really young girl. So I loved it then and I wanted to sort of taste the next sort of step. So sort of dedicated my life at that stage in high performance sort of basketball piece. And then, unless you went to America or we're seen from big city, the big smoke, then you might have been seen. But, I'm a small town girl and moved down to Otago and, it just wasn't as sort of, there was no strong pathway at the time. Now it's completely different. Now it's one of the fastest growing sports there, which is wonderful. And then at the same time, I kind of lent myself to rugby at university at the same time. So I'd go to the basketball training academy and then also join my friends at the rugby club and the University Blues back in the day. And then just went from there. I actually then loved the basketball, of course. I absolutely adored it, and the teams and the academy system was incredible. We had Leonard King back in the day coaching us. And then going to the rugby environment, you'll know as well, Jodie, you kind of soon, realise how just incredible and diverse and bigger the team is. And the skill sets that I suppose, I learned in basketball, that I loved in basketball, I totally transferred it to rugby straight away. So the basketball supplemented my rugby. And then it just got to the point where physically I couldn't do both, and then I stayed with rugby.
And obviously, rugby's like iconic in New Zealand, isn't it? So, were you encouraged to play rugby more so than other sports?
I think it was the natural thing in terms of my environment at the time. For example, I always wanted to play since I was like 11, 12, when I saw my brother play in the local club, and we're from a small town. And so every Saturday, the whole town goes to Centennial Park in Oamaru to watch the Old Boys Rugby Club against the other clubs, or North Otago in the Heartland Championship. But I just loved that. And he was actually the first five. So on this side of the world, you call it the out half. In the southern hemisphere, we call it first 5'8". So he was that player, kind of like a Carlos Spencer, Marcus Smith type style. I know. I didn't say that. My brother was kind of like that.
Wow.
And I'm the youngest of four. He's the oldest, and I've got two other sisters. And just as a small girl, I kind of saw how cool I actually was so attracted to like how the team, he'd pull the team in, boys go around, this and that, they go out. I was just really fascinated from a young age and seeing him do just all these tricks, and from then. And he was also just, because I'm from a single parent home as well, so mum raised us, and he was also he was not only an older brother, he was an incredible father figure to all of us. And then, so all of that, he was an incredible role model for me. So I always wanted to sort of play rugby at some stage. I just didn't think that it would be at a level that I'd be sort of training every day with it.
And when you were getting into rugby and you were doing very, very well, you actually trialled for the Black Ferns, didn't you? Tell us about that experience.
Oh, yeah, how'd you know? I did. There was a few of us that were involved in the Otago Rugby Academy. So we ended up being like the first woman of that academy back in the day. And then we were invited to trials. And that was an incredible experience because I knew a lot of the girls. It was my first sort of time being in an environment and being intimidated. Like I hadn't really experienced that. And at the time I didn't know what it was, but it was really important for me in general in terms of just professional development and then learning those types of high performance things. That's what it's all about. So yeah, it was tough and it was amazing. I got to meet some of my heroes as well. So that is a bit surreal. And I still do every day. And I'm generally not saying it because they're there, but even today is amazing. So it's super full circle as well. It's just cool to see you guys. So very similar in that environment. Going there, senior Hannah Porters, your Anna Richards, all of those guys who, as a young girl, you would have known who they are. So yeah, it was a good experience. Didn't make the cut though, and that was also a really important experience for me as well.
Yeah, did that give you a little bit more fire in your belly?
Yeah, totally. And it's really interesting actually, I think, because I'm from a small town, and anyone from the rural, I'm not sure if anyone sort of notices, but because there's not as many people to select from, you kind of naturally then go into teams, and there's almost not as much opportunity to not make a team. So there's that balance of sort of when you're going through any sort of pathway. If you're a young athlete and aspiring to the next level, it's that balance of understanding when it does take it to the next level, you're not always going to get your way like that. So that was my first thing as well, not being selected, which was really important for me to experience at that time. Because I was 21 at the time. This was my first time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to that. That's such a big deal, going into a brand new environment like that, and then obviously getting the tough call of not making the cut. And I've been in that position myself, and you do learn a lot in those situations. And I think if anything, you grow from it as well, and you learn a lot. So obviously from that moment, that's very tough. How did you sort of go from there? What did your path go into?
So that actually, around that time, there were a few different things going on sort of in my life that didn't go my way then, which was really interesting in terms of sort of what happened after that, and not being myself for a couple of years. So that was an interesting time, and then managed to bring myself back and then enjoy club footy again, enjoy provincial footy with Otago as well, Otago Spirit. And just sort of started to just enjoy myself and and then start sort of competing. And
you did put your boots on again, didn't you, after that, when you moved to Ireland?
Yes. And I didn't mean to, I totally, thought I had retired and was quite happy to retire. And as in, I didn't officially retire, but I was happy to kind of had done my time in rugby in New Zealand. But yeah, I did. I moved to Ireland we moved to Ireland the first time in 2009 in December for 6 months. And absolutely loved it. We just, I moved over with my former husband at the time for his rugby career. So I actually came over as a rugby partner, rugby wife. So I literally was just more, it was all about. Yeah, totally. I was
not about you.
No, and I loved. I was fine about it,
Yeah.
So yeah, I came just to support my family at the time and immerse myself in the community, meet people and all that stuff. So yeah, we did that. So we came December. I remember it was the 4th of December 2009. Super cold, super icy. We came from a summer in New Zealand to that, and met some wonderful people. Had Christmas with them, all the other members of the team, and all of that was wonderful. And then I kind of just thought, I might just see what the club scene's like, so I can meet friends outside of the bubble. Because the reality is, you're privileged. You live a privileged life when you're a wife or a partner of a professional athlete. You really do. I just wanted to sort of meet other people in the community, and that's actually why I went to Galwegians, because I was in Galway. And then that was awesome. So it just felt like home, actually, to be honest. And went away for one of the games, came back. And it was grand. It was just something to do and to meet people, and that was all it was at the time. We had already signed to Japan for a couple of years anyway, so it was hi guys, bye. And then went to Japan. That was incredible. Really grateful for that experience as well. And again, wonderful. The player group and families experience in Japan is phenomenal. Loved the culture and its people. Loved immersing myself in the community there, and then came back to Ireland as well. And then that's when, things were looking really, really good in terms of my family member at the time and supporting his rugby, that we felt a little bit settled. And then I felt actually, I might give it a go.
Good for you. Did it reignite that desire to play again? And obviously, like you say, you're immersing yourself in a culture, and it's such a great way to meet friends, at a grassroots level for anyone. You kind of go and you do have this whole new community, but actually, it turns out you're really, really good at rugby as well. Most of us who go there aren't that great. But you just blossomed when you got there, didn't you?
Oh, I'm not that good. I work hard, as in, hard work beats talent. I'm not that talented, to be honest. I just work really hard at the time, and I just, but, so again, I didn't expect to go for gold international at the time. A few things. One, I know we spoke about my upbringing and that, but I didn't really sort of touch on that level of community. So back when I grew up, my mum and her sister and a couple of their other friends, they started this Pacifica community group, and it's been going on for 36 years now. But what it did for me as a child is it made it actually quite normal for me to actually be quite okay with immersing myself in different cultures. So we had all of the Pacific Island nations, and involved in this awesome wee group, and would perform most years and just do all this awesome stuff. And so it was then when we came back the second time to Ireland, and my former husband was doing awesome with his rugby, really, really good. Then I ended up kind of just, I'm not sure how, like I just, because I'm naturally a community person, like I'm on the grass like a lot. So he would actually go visit teams, I'd go with him, would go around to different random clubs, rural clubs around Connacht. Just loved it. And then I was like, then I kind of launched a fitness business and we did a franchise around it. And then I loved it, met more people, supported about 5 different charities there. And eczema meningitis was one of them because my sister contracted meningitis back in the day as well. Gosh. And I just became so immersed in the community. I felt really fit. As in, I wasn't really fit, but I felt like, fit enough. And then I saw an ad for the Road to Rio 2016 on Facebook from Irish Rugby. And then, like, I sat down with my former husband. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to give this a go. Like, I feel like I needed that time just to, genuinely, in some ways, make sure the community accepted me as well, that I was at a level that it's okay for me to represent Ireland. I absolutely adored the country. It was important for me that, the intention and the reason was for the service of the community and to inspire that grassroots. So there was that, and there was also kind of experiences I've been through as well, all of the sort of hardships and that, and then growing up from single parent, all of the sacrifices she did to give us all the opportunity to literally have the moment that I just, the opportunities like that. And so then, long story short, I just went for it. I just made a decision that I will go to the first Talent ID in Dublin, in Old Belvedere, which was actually then ended up being my club. And pretty much start all over again. Like,
that's crazy. That must have been such a whirlwind. So how was those sort of first early days when you sort of got involved in Ireland? How did that feel? Was that quite a big step, obviously going into a team and things like that?
Oh, thanks. It was a big step, but it didn't happen overnight. Like, it literally, looking back, I'm thinking, what the hell was I thinking, like, in terms of my mindset? But at the same time, looking back, I'm really proud of myself because I suppose deep down, I really believed that I did miss an opportunity in New Zealand to reach my potential as an athlete. I really didn't push myself where I knew I could. And again, brother comes in, Sene's, go for it, sis. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And my husband at the time, he was amazing, supportive. So I was like blessed. Everyone was on board. Delayed having a family, those decisions. Like, we made those decisions. And it took like probably well over 2 years for me to be actually eligible to play for Ireland. So as there's no guarantees, I still sort of drove the, 2.5 hour drive a few times a week, every week for about 2.5 years. And then, I went for it. I went for gold. I knew that life is too short, and that was that was a big goal of mine. It was to be an international athlete for Ireland. So I just did it, and then thankfully, thank God, they picked me. They picked me for my first cap, 2015, and then Sevens picked me, and then really thankful to then also play Touch World Cup as well. So I ended up getting three goals, and really, really grateful forever to Ireland and also to New Zealand, because it started in New Zealand and I got to finish and represent in Ireland.
Was it a tough decision for you? Because you have sacrificed a lot, and like you say, you put your family on hold to pursue being an athlete of that level. Obviously, you get the accolades and that's what you do it for, and you've achieved so much, but you have had to sacrifice a lot in that time as well.
Totally. And not just myself, like others in similar situations. Thankfully, it's a different time. Thankfully, I suppose one of the things that I'm super grateful for in that period of time when I was playing was a lot of the work that was done off the pitch, and to ensure that then the next generation going through what we did would never have to limit their decision making in terms of equity of opportunity compared to, say, their male colleagues. And so nowadays there's obviously some well thought out fit for purpose maternity policies, parental policies as well, within their sporting careers, which is really important. And then a number of support mechanisms as well, which wasn't there at the time. And I suppose girls of that era, and again, I also acknowledge I was probably older, like I was like one of the older ones in the group, because I kind of made a comeback quite late. My comeback was like at 28, and then my first cap was like 32. Yeah, so like amazing. It kind of like I'm old. So like compared to the other girls, I'm a different. Like everyone's not the same, but I also recognise it was like different to the others. So generally, the others will be fine, but more, there's a few of us that were of that age group, which that would definitely 100% sort of affect that. And even now, I don't mind saying it here, it is really personal, but even now sort of going through the whole process of having to, make sure we're educated on the, egg freezing, all of that sort of stuff is really important. And those education pieces, super, super important for younger athletes as they come into elite programs to understand. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch in there.
Yeah, but it is important to talk about that kind of stuff because, for a very long time, no one has spoken about it. And it is important just to know what your options are because not everyone finds themselves, even with a partner, everyone's circumstances are so different. And all women should be able to pursue their dreams, right? Regardless of things like that. So it is really important to speak about, the options of freezing your eggs and being able to have options later on in life, because it does feel like we're restricted to this like 5 to 10 year window. And if you don't, procreate, then you don't have that opportunity, do you? So, no, it's really important. In terms of you in a green shirt, like you say, you've played for sevens, 15s, touch. You've kind of covered everything. Do you have a career highlight that you look back on and you just think, that moment was unreal?
I suppose in the blue of Leinster, from a provincial perspective, really thankful we won a back-to-back competition, and then Old Belvedere is my club, and I do want to acknowledge them as well in Dublin. But Barbarians, for sure, is so special to me. We were thinking about this before, Barbarians as a club, and then captaining Ireland in Twickenham against England. It was a highlight because honestly not for me, but it was a surreal moment because I had to replace our captain, so as in Ciara Griffin at the time. She's an absolute hero. She's almost fairly unsung. She's an absolute icon in Irish rugby. She should be. She's of Kerry, and she's in Kerry in Ireland. She went out with an injury against USA, an injury that I'm pretty sure if anyone got that injury, they'd be out for like a year. She got a terrible injury to her throat, so she just couldn't play the weekend after. So then I had to sort of step into her role. And that whole week of prep into the Goliath of England and Twickenham, in a November series, it was a pretty interesting challenge, but it was one that I felt so ready and grateful for, and I was like, oh, let's go. I actually genuinely felt, usually you'd be like, oh my goodness, but the reason why it was my favourite, because I felt like, nah, this is it, let's go, girls, because anyway, it would have been a bit, difficult. Obviously, England, one of the best teams in the world, and then the jersey presentation the night before with Claire Malloy and Lindsay Peat, and just the wonderful team we had on that particular weekend. Yeah, that's special in its own right, because I look up to them in general as some of Ireland's best athletes, multi-athletes. So for a number of reasons, it was great. It was Bevan Parsons, one of her first games, I think, as well. Actually, she was on the wing, came on at the end for that game, and she was awesome.
As you mentioned, in the team, there's a lot of players that you looked up to. But outside of the team, in the wider sporting world, did you have any sports people that you were inspired by?
Oh, lots, yeah. Irish-wise, Katie Taylor obviously was one of the big ones. Because at the time when we sort of just moved back the second time, just watching those Olympic Games where she won the gold was just, eye-opening, and she's a big hero in general. Growing up in New Zealand, Beatrice Famuina is a shot putter. And she had won sort of the most medals at the time when I was growing up, so she would be one from like another sport. And then there's obviously quite a lot in rugby. And then I've always loved Serena Williams. Yeah.